Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your number one source for Native American television news, Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman, here in the Muskogee Media Studios as we get ready for this week's episode. And we have a special report for you this week as we continue to cover the ongoing investigation into what's happening with our Muskogee Creek Nation Health Division and the deficit there. We had an extraordinary session this past week on Monday, well attended. A lot of citizens are talking about this. So we will detail what came about in that meeting, the number, the figures, and really the plan going forward from Principal Chief James Floyd, his office, his administration, on how to deal with this deficit. So we're going to completely break down what we have so far and bring you guys up to speed on what we have. Also lay out all the things that you can find in that packet that were made available. But we're going to take our first break here, and as we go to break, want to let you guys know there was a big announcement coming up with an Indigenous Outreach Revival, and these folks want to tell you all about it coming up next week.
We'd like to welcome you to the Indigenous Outreach 2016. This year it begins March 28th, 7 o'clock, and goes through April 1st. Every night we have a anointed speaker coming. Monday night we have Brother John Parrish from the Lighthouse in Eufaula. Wednesday night we have Brother Fred Lowe here, who is from the Omogie Baptist. Thursday night we have Ellison Bennett, who is with coming out of Arizona, one of the reservation churches out there. And Friday night we have Son McHenry. Monday through Wednesday, the Shipley family will be doing the praise and worship. Thursday night will be Sister Melody Wind and her son David Smith, and also Callie Bennett will be assisting her father. Friday night we will have Creek singing led by Brother Paul Fixico. But we invite you out. Each night is going to be anointed speaking. Each night we feel like it will be such a lesson for each one. The ministers we have a deep understanding of the will of God and want to bring the good news of the Lord to you. So we invite you out each and every night this week.
Looking for your next 18-hole adventure? Then take a look at Fountainhead Creek Golf Club. Nestled in the beautiful confines of Lake Eufaula State Park, large sloping greens and well-placed bunkers characterize the Muskogee Creek Nation's Floyd Farley designed course and offers a fine test of skill for any golfer. Stay up on all the latest gear and equipment with a visit to our pro shop. Have lunch at the turn at the Clubhouse Grill. We're waiting to accommodate you at Fountainhead Creek. Give us a call at 918-689-3209 or visit fountainheadgolf.com to book your next round. Fountainhead Creek Golf Club, close to home, far from ordinary.
It's more than just an associate degree. It's a life-changing experience.
You'll see a lot of cultural features here on the campus. You'll see a symbol of the mound, which goes back to the history of Muskogee people as being in that Mississippian time period, that mound building society. That really welcomes our students whenever they first get here.
The college in itself is beyond the building, is the people.
They're passionate, very passionate about what they teach, and it shows whenever they're teaching.
The instructors and the administration, they really believe in their students here.
After a couple classes, I began to notice that it kind of felt as if I were returning back to something that had been lost for like a long time. As I learned more about the history of my people, to discover that there were very many great people that did a lot of good things for their people, for their nations, and that those people were American Indian and Native American, it kind of brings out a sense of pride that was not really there before.
There is a future for our people.
And welcome back to the program. And as we get started this week, as we said, special report, we want to take you now to the table. And what we will be doing in this segment is we are going to talk with Jessica McBride, Sterling Cosper, Gary Fife, all journalists working in the Muskogee Media Department for the Muskogee Nation News, and really sitting down as we put this story together piece by piece and sort of get you up to speed on what we've covered and what we are to now is at the present time. So this is ongoing. We still have lots of things to get, but we wanted to table so we could let everybody out there know and sort of break it down and get back to the behind the scenes look at putting this story together. So definitely want to get everybody out there keyed up on our social media sites, especially the Muskogee Nation News Facebook page, because that's where you're going to see a lot of the documents that we'll reference in this next segment. So Muskogee Nation News, Native News Facebook pages for these documents. Please enjoy the table as we lay out this ongoing story. Okay, folks, so as we continue our coverage of the health crisis, we're calling it, it brings us to the latest developments, and that is the big council extraordinary session this past Monday. What is it that we've gotten now and the citizens have gotten from that meeting?
Well, right in front of us is kind of a sample of, I guess, hard evidence of what came out of that meeting. What you have here is an information tip line telling citizens to call in with their opinions and things of the direction they would like to see us go from here. You've got some draft options to consider regarding that and some things to comment on. They furnished some initial numbers of their understanding of the situation so far, and there's also the legislation pretty much that passed during that session that proposes to resolve the situation, and that is going through a loan with Bank of America Merrill Lynch.
Right. And Jessica, you actually reached out to get statements from two different offices. Where were we at on that?
So after the meeting on Monday, I reached out to Chief Floyd's office, and then I'll quote his statement. He provided a written statement that says, "We are now starting the process of making decisions with an outside health source to help lead quality, access, cost-saving initiatives. Right now our goal is to ensure the quality health care with our health system." I also reached out to MCN Attorney General Kevin Dellinger, and he had this to say: "The Muskogee Creek Nation Office of the Attorney General will continue to monitor and assess the MCNDH budget deficit. At this time, we do not have any further comments."
Gary, you can see the wording there, continue to. So it's been on their radar at the Attorney General's office right now. What does that sort of tell you as you look at where we're at with this whole?
Well, first thing it does is raise the questions: how long have they been watching this thing, and what prompted that interest? So as it goes along here, we're seeing in the bill that was passed the other night, some reasons why this thing happened.
Right.
And you're going to have to look at, who knew what when, and then see if there is anything that the Attorney General needs to follow up on. And it points out, of course, the reasons why this thing is happening.
Right. Let's go ahead and delve into the packet that was passed out at the meeting on Monday, because I think a lot of people are interested to see it sort of broken down page by page and really section by section. So.
Yes. Well, when we last spoke with you guys, we informed you that the option they were looking at the time was drawing the difference out of the permanent fund. What you will see is there's some red language on this version of the bill that was passed out during the meeting. Shortly before it, they rolled out an announcement saying that they were looking at that loan from Merrill Lynch rather than the permanent fund. And Speaker Tiger actually explained some of the mentality behind that to you guys. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. He talks about some of that as well. So, guys, anything else in the packet worth noting?
They go through a lot of financials and estimates of what they believe the finances to be. They say that at the end of fiscal year 2015, they were in a deficit of $28.6 million. They're estimating the deficit for 2016 to be $22.5 million. Contract health services to be a deficit of negative $6 million. And then the community hospital to be negative $8.5 million.
And also look in this packet, legislation, it definitely says that the council their official stance is we didn't know about any of this until February of 2016, right?
It also says the governing board stated that they were unaware of the extreme deficit, and that's their the language here, extreme deficit the Department of Health has been working under, and then quarterly reports never indicated that deficit either. So
from 2015, not the previous year, yes.
So you've got a number of deficits there, and this information that I think is critical hasn't been passed along.
Yeah.
And you know, why did that happen?
Yeah.
And left everyone in the dark.
I think probably one of the more important parts of the packet is the future. You know, like where do we go from here? What are some of the strategies that we look at to try to fix this? And they also included some of that as well in the end, right?
Well, before that strategy, though, let me interject this. It also says here that it's projected to continue to operate in a deficit this year. So it's not going to go away unless it's you deal with it.
The loan is to fix the problem, to fix the deficit, but to continue to fix the deficit so that it doesn't happen again, there's going to have to be things that are remedied. There's some ideas that they're considering as far as changing the Okmulgee Hospital to an acute care center. So that would eliminate the inpatient surgical unit and the emergency room. And then either aggressively market or close the physical rehabilitation center. That's the George Nye Physical Rehabilitation Center that we purchased. There's a lot of other things in this, such as potentially changing the Wetumpka Clinic to only 3 days a week. Looking at the Coweta dialysis program and possibly either contracting that out or closing the center. One of the things mentioned at the meeting on Monday was that Chief Floyd estimated that they have 2 patients right now at the dialysis center in Coweta.
Yeah, and before we move forward, I mean, all of this pretty much infers and reflects, and it even came out overtly at the council meeting, of potential responsibility with the previous administration. So earlier this afternoon, I spoke with former Principal Chief George Tiger, and he informed me that he'll be trying to get back with me on Monday, that he has some things to get together, so we'll keep an eye on that. We've also reached out to former Health Director Seneca Smith. I was not able to get a hold of him.
Just from what we've heard and what we've inferred from some of the commentary that has been going on with the citizens is that there's really, three places to where we want to get some answers or maybe some words spoken from on this issue, and it's the council, the former chief, and the former Secretary of Health that were in place during the time of this deficit. More importantly, this deficit continuing without anyone being the wiser. So we have those two, as you said, Sterling, but we did in fact get on camera to sit with me for a few minutes Lucian Tiger, the Speaker of the National Council, recently at the council chambers, and this is what he had to say. Speaker, it's all out on the table now. We have $65 million deficit we're looking at with health. You all addressing it last night in an extraordinary session, which has drawn a lot of interest from the citizens, a lot of interest from people wanting to be there to see what we're going to do. As you look at what came out last night in the legislation, though, kind of what strikes me and what strikes a lot of citizens is that legislation indicating that you all, as a council, had no idea about any of this until February. The health board, as the body over the health system, had no idea about this as late as last week, March 15th, I believe was indicated. Also, we indicate last year quarterly reports given to the council from the health system where none of this was recognized. So, Speaker, my first question to you would be, how in the world did nobody know about this?
That's the million-dollar question, because I was on the committee last year, and we asked during several different meetings, we asked if we could get the exact numbers where we are. When the numbers were presented to us, yes, they did show a negative, but there was always an explanation of why they were a negative, and there was also how they were going to make it up, what was going to offset that negative, so on and so forth. There was always a time period. One of the big things was Cerna. When they brought in that, switched over to the Cerner, that obviously slowed down things on the billing side.
Right.
So therefore, that was one of the things that was given to us. But then we find out there's only a $6 million, $6 to $7 million that we were short on collections on bill outs because of the transition. And obviously that wasn't going to make up for the deficit. So there was always an explanation of why we were in this red part and what was going to offset it. So we were never told, no, we don't have the income revenue coming in to offset the deficit.
Right.
That's something that we as a HUE committee and as a council as a whole were never informed of.
You yourself personally, or any of the council?
Myself personally, as well as none of the council as a whole, none of us knew that it was at that point.
But is your belief, or any of those personally, that maybe those numbers were skewed on purpose?
I would like to think not.
Or withheld on purpose?
Well, I would like to think not, but there's still, again, that's the main question that we want to know too. How did it get here? What happened? Why weren't we kept informed of what was going on?
Okay.
When we asked the questions, why is this, let's just throw a number out there, why is there a $12 million negative in this column?
Right.
Well, there was always a reason of why it was there, how it was going to be fixed, and a timeline of how it was going to be fixed.
Right.
We never knew that there was a deficit from 14 carrying over. We never knew the actual deficit for 15. And then also looking at it, you're still going to have a deficit for 16 because the new administration didn't come in until January.
Right.
So this total dollar amount you're seeing is offsetting and helping recoup monies from 14, 15, as well as a projected shortfall in 16. So that's what this, yes, so it's the last couple of years. And one of the main things, like I addressed last night, was I want everyone to also understand that the healthcare department is behind on the fringe side as well, paying the nation back for the fringe, which is $14 to $15 million. Right. So that's another large number that most people are unaware of, that they were behind in as well.
As we go back a few years, you look at, we did have a different administration. We had a different chief, George Tiger, and a different Secretary of Health, that was Seneca Smith. Have you or any of the council heard from those two individuals at all in dealing with this deficit?
I personally have spoken with Seneca Smith a few times over this, and he just point blank tells me that he doesn't believe the deficit is at this point should be this large at this point in time. He doesn't agree with the numbers, and and I tell him we just have to deal with the numbers that we're given. This is the issue at hand. We have to deal with these numbers, and he says he does disagree with that, and I have to respect that because he's giving me his opinion on what he thought it was when he left the end of December.
What about former Chief Tiger? Any?
He and I have not spoken on this, no, sir.
And in no capacity with the council as well?
No, sir. Okay. Not for the negative balance on that, no.
Is there a way that you all have talked about and looked at ways to, let's say, as a council, I think taking responsibility is part of it too, and saying, what could we have done differently? I know you're introspective as far as what's going on, but as far as like looking at going forward here, something we've heard it could be a learning experience. How would you think you would have done it differently as far as getting those financials? Would you have asked for more?
You have to, what I learned from it is, you have to look at the number as it is, even though someone is telling you that this number is here, but it's only for a short term. You still have to take it, you'd have to look at it as in real time right now. We're 12 million in the red right now. Shouldn't have happened, any way you look at it. And absolutely, we're all responsible, because we were all voting for the hospital in Okemah, for the Eufaula Clinic. We all voted for that, and that was an $86 million, I believe, $86 million piece of legislation that we all voted for. So absolutely, we're held accountable for that.
You think you didn't get everything though when you voted for those?
No, because the complete understanding of that was, we didn't understand. I didn't. I'm gonna speak for myself. I didn't understand the large balloon payments that were going to be at the end, and then third-party revenue was supposed to take care of these. When you look, there was $23 million, I believe, in third-party revenue collected.
Right.
That's a long ways from being able to take care of everything that third-party revenue is supposed to be able to take care of.
Right.
So that's the biggest misconception that I can see. Third-party revenue was spread too thin. It's supposed to take care of too many different entities.
Okay. Moving forward now, a plan in place. You all providing, along with Principal Chief James Floyd, documentation to the citizens outlining some strategies, if you will, some things that we may have to try. Maybe switching the operation of some of these places, in effect turning Alt-Malgi Hospital now from a fully functioning hospital to maybe more of an urgent care center, to where we move some people over and things like that. That's all on the table for you all, but I'm sure that those are links that we're going to maybe sort of circumvent having to do any personnel changes, layoffs, things like that. Can you talk about that?
That is something, again, it's going to take time. They're going to try, Chief is going to implement different things, try different things, see what's working, what's not working, because again, we have stressed to the health department, we cannot bail you out again. You know, the nation's going to do this one time, and hopefully it will not be the 65 million. Hopefully the number can stay, you know, lower than that $45 million. That's why when this legislation does go through, because there'll have to be another piece of legislation approving the contract, basically. And then with that, it's going to be, like I say, it's going to be done on draws. So therefore, hopefully we won't have to use that full amount. You know, hopefully enough things will change, and if that's transpired, will transpire. So by the end of 16, it won't be in the deficit that we were at the end of 15.
Talking about the balloon payments a moment ago, now we go forward and looking at the agreement to fix this financially. We go with a loan instead of dipping into the permanent fund. Talk about what went behind that decision.
Basically, what we would have lost by withdrawing that large amount from the permanent fund, you're going to lose the interest on the permanent fund that we use to do special appropriations. Also, you would have had to pay a fee for drawing those stocks out at this point in time. This interest rate that we received, the 0.886, you know, is basically right at 1%. You can't beat it, you know, and it's saving over the proposed we were going to pay ourselves back 4%. So that's saving roughly $2 million a year in interest on that amount. And it could be less, because right now with the full $65 million, it'd be $575,000 annually in interest on the 1%. So therefore, hopefully it won't be the $65 million, hopefully it'll be less. So therefore, all the numbers will work much better to our favor.
Will there be balloon payments on this one? I mean, are we going to interest until the end and then a big bulk payment, or is it going to?
No, we're going to pay this, and this, the majority of this we paid out of debt retirement on this.
In the immediate future, I know that this is far from settled, but how do you feel as speaker right now with last night's meeting and really what was accomplished and given forth to the citizens?
I think it went really well. That's why I wanted to make sure that all the citizens that were in attendance, everyone that was in attendance, had the same copy and the same information that we as council had, the same thing that Chief was reading. They could follow along and look and see that these numbers aren't inflated. Here's what happened. Here's the timeline. You could see where the dips were in the healthcare department. And that goes back to being transparent. You know, we always hear, we want transparency, we want transparency. You can't get much more transparent than having, they had the full piece of legislation, everyone that attended, they had all the attachments to go with it, so they could see exactly what we're dealing with.
If it does come out that there were, you know, deliberate misleadings, or, you know, something messed with the budget to make it look to where it's better than it is, or you all as a council were purposefully given false information that was knowingly concealed for certain reasons, you know, where do we go there?
That's another very good question. That would be left up to, in my opinion, that would be left up to the Chief and the Attorney General's office to discuss and do the proper procedure on handling that.
All right, well, thank you for your time, Speaker. Appreciate it today.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
All right. So there you have it, Lucian Tiger, the Speaker of the National Council, speaking to this issue, and I think there were some interesting things that he said throughout the interview. Definitely interesting to me is the fact that, as it is everyone, that everybody just didn't know, or, you know, claims that they did not know. And so you look at that as well, and Sterling, you brought up a great point too, the fact that we wanted to know also why the loan instead of the permanent fund, and I thought he brought up some good points there too.
Yeah, I thought it was good to let you guys hear it from the man himself, but just to reiterate that point, the reason they backed down from that initial plan is they determined, and at least they relayed to us, that they would incur more penalties by withdrawing out of that account, the permanent fund account, the way it's set up, and that this is a little to no interest loan coming out of Bank of America Merrill Lynch.
As long as I've been here at the Creek Nation, which is you know, nearly 10 years, the permanent fund has always been one of those, oh, don't touch it, you know. So when they first said that, I thought, you know, I'd be surprised if that went through. So you see this development, and it makes a little bit of sense.
You don't want to spend down your nest egg there. I mean, the revenues generated from that, the percentages and things like that, that's lost once you cut that major capital amount down. And I don't know where you're going to get it back unless there's just incredible revenue for Margaritaville and this flying tea thing. You know, they made the best decision.
Jessica, you sit in on the interview too, and for coverage for the paper. Anything you took away that maybe stuck out?
One of the things that Speaker Tiger did say was that health is behind in their fringe benefits, and I know that can be kind of confusing. What this has to do with is like the health employees, their health insurance, their employee benefits, and it said that they're behind paying the nation by like $14 million.
Yeah.
Something important to note is we do have a lot of financial documents in front of us, but one thing we requested as far back as March 7th was that we asked for an audit that was referred to in a previous story, and that would be a third-party assessment of the financial situation. I expect we're going to see financials maybe from the previous administration, financial documents from the existing one with their personnel, but what we really want to see at the end of the day, because we want to be neutral, is a third-party assessment. And we understand that there's going to be more of that going on in the future. So I guess we'd like to really implore all our elected officials to make those documents available as soon as possible.
We've asked for a lot of documents. You know, I asked for the comprehensive annual budget for 2015 and 2016 for the entire tribe, as well as a lot of financials just for the health department for the previous year and the months of 2016 of that fiscal year. So hopefully we'll be able to get that information so that we can actually take a look at it and corroborate what we're being told by the officials.
Yeah, the thing is, this is a big story. It's an urgent matter. It seemed to have come out of left field, but you know, it's very important for us as a news agency to have the tools we need. We've come a long way with our free press bill, but the thing we're still waiting on is our Freedom of Information Act. More importantly, that act is strong and it's going to be expediently and liberally enforced, and hopefully actually have that in the language of the bill.
And you know, another thing I would note too is that I thought that was, you know, that really stuck with me was that Lucian said he had spoke with Seneca Smith, and that Seneca felt like the numbers were wrong, that wasn't a correct number with the deficit they're dealing with. So it'll be interesting to get Seneca's comments and see if we can't get him on camera or anything else like that. So, you know, it'll be something to stay tuned with here with Muskogee Media and us as we continue this coverage. Guys, I want to thank each of you for taking some time to sit at the table here, break this down, and really we want to let the citizens know we're on this story, we're covering it, we're doing our due diligence. We are waiting for tangible physical evidence, things that we can actually report on instead of hearsay and speculation. So it's coming out as it comes out, and as we receive those things and receive some of the interviews that we have been requesting. So thank you guys very much. Mado. And my thanks again to all those colleagues for joining me there at the table as we continue to chase down this health deficit story. It's one of the biggest ones we've had so far around here, and we're really doing our due diligence and working hard to make sure that the citizens are completely informed. Along with that, please keep going to our website, our Facebook page, go to our Muskogee Nation News Facebook page to see all the documents that we reference. There's a lot of documents in there. If you want to see for yourself, be informed, go take a look at those. You can also keep up with us here on our YouTube channel and go on the online channel to go and look back at our weekly reports on this. We'll see you guys next week, and we should have more on this ongoing story.